This is a podcast about all things health and wellbeing with me, Ask Elizabeth, counsellor, health advocate, and blogger. Join me as we get to know these guests and learn about how they implement health, wellbeing, and self-care practices into their lives. Welcome to Unearthing Wellbeing with Ask Elizabeth, where our greatest wealth is health. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of Unearthing Wellbeing. This episode I spoke with Annabelle Smith, who is a dual Olympian in the sport of diving. Annabelle is an Olympic bronze medalist, 3-time Commonwealth Games bronze medalist, and has been on the national team for a decade. We spoke about Annabelle's journey of discovery, her hopes to participate in the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, as well as her repertoire of techniques at her disposal as she advocates for optimal health and well-being. I will now let you take a listen. This is Annabelle. Welcome, Annabelle. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Unearthing Wellbeing, where your greatest wealth is health. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks, and thanks for having me on. I'm very excited to have a chat. I'm feeling good.
For those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am an elite athlete. I compete in the sport of diving. I've been training pretty much since I was 12. So the past 15 years have been 30 hours a week of training, working really hard to see if I can reach my potential. And I've been very fortunate to represent Australia at a lot of different competitions. I've been to 3 Commonwealth Games, 2 Olympics, and lots of other events in between. And I guess the highlight of my career so far has been winning a bronze medal at the Rio Olympic Games in 2016 in women's 3-meter synchronized diving. Outside of the pool, I love all things sport. I love all things wellness, well-being. I enjoy doing things that, that help me to look after myself. I love my family, my friends, and I'm just trying to live my best life, but pretty cruisy and love all things outdoors and adventures. So that's a bit about me.
Fantastic. And as I realised, you're based in Adelaide.
Yes, I am. So I'm from Melbourne, but because of my sport, I've had to travel interstate and relocate quite a few times to be based in different programs. But my coach moved to Adelaide at the end of 2019. So I've been based over here sort of on and off. With Corona, I went back home, but based here now for the next 6 months.
Oh, fantastic. And I assume you've got a lot of games lined up and competitions, hopefully now that
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, I think we're still a little bit floating in the unknown because obviously COVID is still here, and Australia's obviously in a much better position than the rest of the world, but for any of our competitions to occur, borders have to be open, and there has to be no risk of people getting locked out of training venues. So we're supposed to have a competition in February, but we're just going with the flow and waiting to see if that'll happen or not.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Well, where did it all start for you?
In terms of my diving or my wellness journey?
Both. Yeah.
Okay, so I grew up a really sporty kid and very energetic. My parents sort of put me in as many sports as they could to expend my endless amounts of energy. And then, I sort of was more into netball and little athletics, and I played soccer, but I always had this natural acrobatic ability. I'd teach myself backflips on the trampoline in my backyard and be cartwheeling down our corridors. So I sort of tried out in a holiday program for diving, not really knowing or thinking that I knew what diving was at that time. And it was really fun. And the coach saw that I had a bit of talent and asked me to join the term program. So I sort of just added that to my weekly activities once a week. And then a year or so later, I got accepted into a junior high performance program that was created for the first time in Melbourne. And I committed to that and made the decision to let go of all my other sports. And then my parents and my family made a big sacrifice for me to be able to, have a go at this diving journey and see where it could lead me. And yeah, I ended up obviously having a bit of a different experience as a kid. And, at school, I was training before and after school, so there wasn't really much time for anything else. But I progressed really quickly and had great coaches that helped guide me to, the path of achieving some really good success, and have been fortunate to experience some great things and traveled to some amazing places across the globe. So it's been a really fantastic journey so far, and not finished just yet. So fingers crossed Tokyo goes ahead, and that can be a really great celebration for the world to come together through all the chaos that's been the last 12 months. And then I guess for my sort of wellness journey and how I've sort of become really interested in sort of prioritizing my well-being, probably when I finished school. So I was around 18, I had to relocate to Brisbane and move away from my family, and was sort of on my own, and diving became my sort of pure focus, and I didn't really have much balance outside of the pool. And so I really struggled for a little bit, looking after myself and just feeling a bit down, and wasn't as happy as I usually was. And I think I just had to go through those struggles to realize or figure out, okay, I now have to put more effort into looking after myself because I've got more stress in my life. I've got outside of my comfortable environment, and kind of realize these things for the first time, that when you're a kid, you don't really think about looking after your mental health or your physical health, or it all just kind of came naturally. Yeah, when I was faced with those challenges, I really had to sort of dig deep and figure out ways that could make my in stressful situations. So sort of for the past 6 to 8 years, and more so probably in the last 3, I've really made it a priority to look after my well-being first.
That's amazing. We all go through a process in terms of like low points in our lives teach us more than high points. And with respects to your well-being journey, because of those hardships you've experienced, you've learnt that you need to put things in place to ensure that you're keeping your glass full. And although like diving is a form of exercise and stuff like that, it's very full on and can take a lot of energy out of you, especially it's your career. And
yeah.
What have you found to be the most effective ways to ensure that your well-being is at its prime?
Oh, I think for me, I spent a few years sort of experimenting with different things to find out what made me feel the best. But now I guess I have a little repertoire of things that I pull on if I'm feeling a certain way or know what my body needs. But I guess first and foremost, my hydration and what I'm fueling my body with, and eating healthy. And I never restrict myself with my diet, but I try and make sure that the majority of the things that I consume are healthy and is going to give me energy. And then I also enjoy myself when I want to, and those things don't have a negative effect because most of the time my body is being fueled properly. You'll never see me without a drink bottle, either at training or wherever I am. I always have a water bottle, so that's sort of just habit now. But at times, if I've forgotten a water bottle or I'm overseas somewhere and the access to clean drinking water isn't as readily available, I can feel myself dehydrated, and that has a really negative effect on my mood and my energy levels. And so that's been a really key point for me as well. And then now I used to train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, mostly double sessions. But now as I've gotten a bit older, and I've obviously trained for a long time, so my body doesn't need as much training anymore. I need to train smarter, not harder. That's definitely true for me. So I've really realized that if I have my Wednesdays as sort of like a wellness Wednesday, or my coach calls it my me day, and it sort of breaks up my week and allows me to do things that I want to do for myself and to re-energize. And so, I've gone through periods of doing yoga every Wednesday or Pilates. I often get a massage, which is for my sport. It's not very relaxing, but it helps my body to recover.
Yeah.
I also usually love to go for a walk outside on a Wednesday morning. So I sort of just go through the day at my own pace and do the things that sort of fill my cup back up. So yeah, between getting outdoors and, feeling the sun on my face and going for a nice coastal walk or something, we're very lucky where I live in Adelaide, it's quite close to the beach. And then, yeah, just eating yummy food and also prioritizing my sleep has been really important for me. It's the same as, if I don't have a drink of water every half an hour and you feel dehydrated, if I don't get, 7 or 8 hours of sleep, I just feel foggy and fatigued and not the best version of me. So I know that I have to do those things in order to feel really good.
Oh, that's amazing. And it's funny you say that, like, with respects to the water thing, how obviously we are quite fortunate in respects to how we've got clean water and stuff, whereas overseas, in some places, that's not always the case. So my
Mm-hmm.
question is, with when you're driving, when you're flying over to these places, do you find you're more dehydrated, like when you're in the plane and then coming out from it as well, or do you ensure
Yeah.
that you're
So
drinking a lot?
yeah, well, long haul flights are definitely not a great environment for, optimal health and well-being, but we have staff members and team managers who look after us before we go with information on, the whole flight and when we should be drinking, when we should be eating, and
Oh
trying
wow.
to sort of cheat the system and push our body clock into the right time zone before we even arrive. So I always travel with, go on the plane with an empty drink bottle because obviously you cannot have liquids through customs. But then I'll ask the flight attendant to fill it up as soon as I get on the flight, and I'm pretty much constantly sipping water. It does become difficult if you get stuck in a middle seat because when I'm drinking so much water, I often need to go to the bathroom quite often, and then you have to jump out over someone. But usually we all travel and sit next to each other. So as divers, we're pretty nimble. So we just do climb over each other. But yeah, that's a big thing is to arrive in your destination feeling the best that you can and making sure that you sort of stay away from caffeinated drinks and just try and consume lots of water is pretty key.
That's really interesting. Thanks for
Yeah.
enlightening us all about that too.
No worries.
Um, yeah, and you, like, it's fantastic that you're able to now keep that Wednesday for yourself and, I guess, do whatever fills your cup and what you enjoy basically, and you prioritize that. So what you were saying about, like, doing what you feel like in terms of the
Yeah.
day, like whether it be yoga or Pilates and going to a nice brunch place, like, it's really
Yeah.
important that we're utilizing those things. So I love how you've actually realized that for yourself and you're able to implement those things for you.
Yeah, and I think it's really great. I've had the support of my coach who realizes that if I'm happy Annabelle outside of the pool, I'm happy Annabelle in the pool. And so he knows that that day has a really great effect on me and how I can then, put so much effort in when I am at the training sessions and get a lot out of my week, knowing that that break in the middle allows me to sort of feel good and to be ready and motivated for the rest of the week. So, yeah, it's been a really good thing for me.
Fantastic. And you said that you've had the opportunity to go to the Olympics and you've won a bronze medal, as well as you participated in the Commonwealth. But sorry, that was at the Commonwealth Games. So 3-time Commonwealth Games bronze medalist, Olympic bronze medalist, dual Olympian, and you've competed for 13 years on the Australian dive team.
Yes.
So aside from that, you've got the motivational speaking, and you're currently helping shape the Australian sporting future on the inaugural AIS Athlete Advisory Committee. So tell us
Yeah.
about how you juggle all of those roles and avoid things like burnout.
Sure. So I've really discovered that over the years, having that balance outside of the pool, outside of my own training, really helps me feel like more of a whole person and balanced person. And so I studied at university for quite a few years, just part time, doing exercise and sports science, which was really great to have something I could switch my brain off and, switch it on to something different than diving.
Amazing.
But since I've finished that and I've sort of increased my own sort of personal brand and try and engage with people on social media and just spread the things that I love and that I'm passionate about. And that's come along with gaining some ambassador roles and doing quite a lot of public speaking, which I really enjoy, talking to school kids and just encouraging people to be healthy and active and look after themselves and be kind to people. And that stuff's sort of really rewarding for me. And yeah, it gives me sort of some purpose outside of the pool as well. And then I guess just being a senior athlete now and having so much experience, I felt like, I had something to give back to the sport and to Australian sport in general that has given me so much. And so, to be now on the Australian Institute of Sports Athlete Advisory Committee has been something that I'm really proud of and feel like I'm helping the future generations or, having a voice in trying to create the best high performance programs and the best environments for future generations of athletes. So, my priority is always my own training and trying to get the best out of my performance. But having these things outside of that, which I enjoy doing and am passionate about, has, really helped me just feel sort of purposeful and like I am giving something back to the world. So it's been really good.
Well, thank you for being a part of that and helping others, I guess, fuel that fire in themselves if they choose to go down that sporting route. So yeah, it's just fantastic. And tell
Thank
us,
you.
you're welcome. Tell us a little bit about AIS in general.
So, obviously, sport in Australia is one of the most popular things to do, to watch. It's entertaining. But I guess, coming up the ranks in a high performance system that was, when I was younger, was run by the Australian Institute of Sport. It was something that I always had a goal to get an AIS scholarship. And that's what I had to move to Brisbane for when I turned 18. And, getting to train with Olympians who were older than me and they were my idols, and having that example to work towards was really sort of integral in my development as an athlete. And now the system's a little bit different and it's not as like one, you don't have to be in one place. The states have their own institute programs and the AIS still sort of funds and overlooks everything and creates some systems that sports can utilize in their own way. But now, it's been really great that it's sort of Australia wide and we often come together for camps and options. And then the AIS is also really great in doing some health evaluations and testings for us to make sure everyone sort of keeps on top of injury prevention, or, we get our bloods tested and can do body composition things. So we're really lucky that we've got great resources to make sure that we're trying to be the best athletes that we can be.
Amazing. And that's pretty cool. Like, you're not only a part of like the diving team, but you're also like a part of the AIS, I guess, platform, and you're learning that different areas. So for instance, I guess a lot of people say we've got about 6 careers that we have in our lifetime. That could potentially be one of them in future, like for yourself, which is amazing to like have like at the back of your mind at all times. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a really great network of people that, we have access to sports psychologists, dietitians, physiotherapists, remedial massage, career counselors. So there's a really great sort of spectrum of people that are all helping athletes to be the best athletes.
Amazing. And you told us a little bit about how you've secured some ambassadors. Well, you're an ambassador for these companies. Tell us a little bit more about those.
So one of the companies that I'm an ambassador for is Jagged, which is sort of athletic wear. And that partnership sort of came about in a really authentic way. I met one of the owners in a sushi shop, quite a few years ago now. And Jagged was pretty small back then. And I just told him how I really loved their tights. I sort of just said I was an athlete. I didn't say I was an Olympian or anything like that. And he really appreciated my feedback and asked for my email address to, send me a pair of tights. And I was obviously super grateful for that. And then I think he sort of looked up my name and realized that, I'd been a pretty successful athlete and got very excited. And they'd been a great support for me since that moment. And we've just built this really great partnership. And, I live in Jagged activewear. I live in activewear. So now everyone, at training and so many of my family friends now also wear Jagged, and what they stand for, and being, empowering females to be the best versions of themselves and love who they are, and no matter shape, size, ability, whatever. That's something that I'm really proud to be a part of. I'm also an ambassador for AIA Vitality, which is AIA is an insurance company, and they do health insurance, which the branch for AIA Vitality is all about living healthier, better, stronger lives. So again, that sort of very much is in tune with my purpose of being the healthiest and best version of me. So I really feel passionate about spreading that message as well. And they have so many great initiatives that encourage people to be healthier and make healthy choices. And their program rewards people for making healthy choices. So that's a really great program as well. And then more recently, I've just signed with Jolene Swimwear, who I now wear their bathers to training every day, and they're beautiful, bright colors and have really great designs and different back shapes, which are really fun to train in and super comfortable. And they're also a company that sort of projects the message of loving yourself and being confident in your own skin. And I'm really proud to be a part of their brand now too.
That's fantastic. And the fact that these all align with who you are and what you do for a career and for a living, that's fantastic. And yeah, it's just cool how the first brand and ambassadorship came along basically in a sushi shop. Like, who would have known that would progress into something like that? So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's why, it's very special that was very authentic, and have built a great relationship, and they're like family now. So, I'm very grateful for their support.
That's so sweet too. And I love their clothes. I think it definitely is like what you were saying about empowering women of all shapes and sizes. I think they do that quite well. So, yeah.
Yes, they do.
And over over, I guess, COVID period last year, you had a quarantine diaries as well as a blog called Being Belle. Tell us a little bit about that. And I'm not sure if you're still doing that now, but yeah, enlighten us.
Yeah, so I guess when we first went into isolation and had to stay at home for quarantine in COVID, I sort of was exploring different options of things I could do to sort of like keep my brain active and distracted from the fact that we weren't able to train. And I've always really loved writing, like journal. Like I used to journal a lot as a kid, and still sort of do love writing things down, getting my kind of thoughts and feelings out there. And I'd actually written a few of these sort of little blog entries that I just never posted anywhere. And it was mainly to do with, me as an athlete and some of the struggles that I'd been through, or some topics like fear, or how do I deal with fear, or how do I, deal with like control or lack of control over COVID, for example. And so I decided to take some of that time when I was stuck at home to build a website and then create a blog that I put out every Wednesday. And that was really a great way for me to sort of express myself, and also for a lot of younger athletes and some parents just to read the blogs and understand a little bit more about, what it takes to be a high-performing athlete, and some of the things that we go through or I go through can be relatable to anybody who's working a normal job or is a mom or is at school or anything. So that was really rewarding to get some great feedback. As my schedule sort of got a little bit busier, I sort of pulled back a little bit, but now that we're into 2021 and, through the holiday season, I'm definitely looking to get back into that and hopefully do some collaborations and, share some other people's thoughts through my blogs. And then I also have a YouTube channel that I posted on quite regularly around the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games, and decided to sort of whip out my blog camera again and do a couple of videos. So that was also fun. It really was just a couple of ways to give me some purpose in my days when I was stuck at home and going bored out of my brain. So it was fun and I enjoyed it, and I think people gained some value out of it as well.
100%. And I think if we can learn off each other and not, I guess, learn how to manage our time and stuff when we're in isolation, because like for many of us, we were in lockdown, because you did say that you came back to Melbourne during that time, and like not being able to do things that you normally love to do or can do can be quite detrimental on our mental health, as well as our own well-being, physical health and so forth. So for you, like having that outlet is great in itself, but you've also allowed others to I guess be empowered and learn from your journey, which is fantastic.
Yeah. No, exactly. I think, it is hard sometimes to get yourself out of like a rut, or when you've been dealt the cards of COVID and your whole world's flipped upside down. But I spent a couple of weeks being pretty sad and disappointed that the Olympics were postponed and that we were all stuck at home and couldn't do anything. But I think then with experience and with age, you kind of learn that, well, you're in control of how you react to things or how you wake up in the morning and what your attitude's going to be. So I think I really put in a lot of effort to start my day off in a positive way, or try and make the best of the situation of being at home. And then that inspired other people to sort of do the same. Or I got some great messages of people saying that, my dance cardio workouts that I would post brightened up their day, or my cooking videos, or, my home workouts made them want to do a workout. So that stuff is sort of the only reason why I do it, is to, one, be an outlet for me, but two, to hopefully inspire someone else to, make a good decision or look after themselves that day.
That's beautiful. And even if you can help one person during like a really tough time, it means that you're not only doing stuff for yourself, but putting stuff out there for others. And I think that's what you were saying before about what you get is what you're going to put out too. So yeah, it's really nice. With self-care, obviously you've mentioned a few things that you do on a Wednesday, and diving is another outlet that you do every day besides the Wednesdays. Tell us more about that.
So some other things that I really enjoy doing for self-care, I think over the last couple of years have gotten into skincare, and just like using my skincare routine as my way of like looking after myself, or it's 20 minutes of pampering myself. So sort of every morning and every night I have a skincare routine that I really love. And whether it's helping my skin or not, I mean, I'm sure it is, but it makes me feel good, and it's part of my routine that is doing things to, add positivity to my day. So I definitely really love that. And, sometimes on a Sunday I'll have a bath and put a face mask on and just do things for me, or turn on, my favorite Netflix show at the moment, or listen to a podcast, or just take time for myself. So I'm a pretty big believer in, being okay on your own and being able to spend time with your own thoughts. And so for me to go on like a solo walk, or even just, go down to the beach, sit on the beach and read a book, or just stare out into the ocean on your own for 20 minutes, that stuff fills my cup up and makes me feel good and fresh. And I sort of gain that energy when I do have time alone, even though I am a very social person. So for me, I think one of the biggest forms of self-care is being on my own. So yeah, I mean, and a few other things. Sometimes I like to go get my nails done or get a pedicure and just, treat myself in those ways, or go get an acai bowl, go get a massage that's not a sports massage, but more of a relaxing massage. So sort of all the generic things that we all have learned that can be good for our self-care, I sort of dabble in all of them, and just kind of go with my gut on what I'm feeling like or what I need. And sometimes that's having a 20-minute nap. Sometimes it's going for a hike up a mountain. But I always am pretty in tune with my body and what it needs at that time.
That's amazing. And I think it's really important. Like, I love how you've touched on how we all need that time for ourselves and to do things like just for ourselves on our own, because I was thinking about this yesterday too. And just being able to go out to the beach or sit in a quiet space and have a read of a book, or just meditate, like, these things are so important for us to re-energize, and we tend to forget that we need those times of solitude, not solitude, but like just one-on-one time to, I guess, not brighten up our days, but boost ourselves so we're able to continue on for the rest of the week or for the rest of the
Yeah.
day. So yeah.
Yeah, I find it pretty interesting. I think everyone is on their own sort of journey of well-being and self-care, and I feel like when you are at that point that you are okay on your own, or sitting with your thoughts, or being able to, meditate, whether that's listening to a track or just breathing for 10 minutes straight, is when you are the most in tune with yourself. And I think some people struggle because it is difficult if you're used to being surrounded by people, or you love to be surrounded by people, that being on your own, you don't know what to do with yourself. But I reckon that sometimes it's like a barrier to really deal with your own things, and break some things down. So when you do get to that point where you can be okay with your own thoughts and sitting on your own, or doing things on your own, it's a really powerful place to be, I think, and makes you understand who you really are.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's a place where you're able to grow as well as a person.
Yeah, 100%.
Amazing. For those inspired by you and want to follow in your footsteps, what's your advice?
My advice is definitely to just be authentically you, and not to try and fit into a mold that's maybe made by other people, or be influenced too much by other people. I spent some years throughout my sort of career worrying too much about judgment from others, or what's everyone else doing? Do I need to be doing that? Do I need to change this? Do I need to look a different way? Do I need to, talk a different way, or whatever? So I'm so much happier now that I'm so okay with who I am, and what I've created is my personal brand and just who I am as a person. And yeah, that's what I just wish for everyone, is to be so accepting of themselves as how they come. We can't change a lot of things. It's just who we are and how we're born. So to accept that, I think, is really freeing and super powerful, to just be okay with who you are, but obviously constantly on that journey of growth and trying to always improve and be the best version of you, and just understanding that being the best version of you is perfect and okay, and that's all we can be. So that's probably my advice for everyone.
Thank you. That's really nice to say, and I think that's perfect to sum up this whole conversation. And yeah, I guess to leave everyone with some advice in terms of how they should be unearthing their own well-being, what's your 3 tips?
3 tips to unearth your well-being. Probably number one would be to sit down and just write your thoughts out onto paper, or write some goals on what you want to get out of your well-being, or what you want to aim for in terms of well-being. Sometimes at the start of the year, this is a perfect time to sit down and sort of reflect and come up with some new goals for the year. So that would be my tip number one, is to journal. Tip number two, maybe get some extra education, or read up in like some books or some magazines on, I enjoy reading the Wellbeing magazine, which gives you good tips on things, healthy recipes and, different yoga flows and all things wellbeing. So educate yourself more, and maybe, enlist a friend, or get someone who is on a similar journey or interested in similar things, and talk to them about it. And maybe you guys can commit together to this new journey of well-being, or whether that's going to a Pilates or a gym session together each week, and just doing something that's going to be beneficial for both of you. And having a partner or a friend to do that with is sometimes the motivation that you need. So that would be my third tip.
Thank you. I love that one. I haven't had that tip from any of my guests yet, so that's amazing and very good. I think accountability is really important for some people, especially if they find that they can't achieve as much as they would like to on their own. So yeah, it's amazing. Well, thank you again, Annabelle, for coming on the Unearthing Wellbeing podcast. It's been a pleasure having you on, and I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I hope you appreciated our discussion of unearthing Annabelle's well-being. She's definitely an exceptional role model for the next generation, and so kind. You can find Annabelle on Instagram at Annabelle Smith, or website annabellesmith.net. To ensure Ask Elizabeth and Unearthing Wellbeing continues to grow, please subscribe and rate the podcast. Feel free to also share and tag us on your socials. I hope you have a lovely day. Be safe and be kind. Take care.